Welcome everybody today. Thank you for taking the time to join us for our V49 software release. Very excited to obviously be part of the webinar. I'm just doing the intros at the moment. So on the call today, we've got obviously myself, Rob Thurston, look after a lot of the new sales business here with printIQ. This last few weeks, we've had a great time. Chris Malt has kindly joined us from New Zealand, and we've got him here in the UK for a few more days, which has been brilliant. And we've also got Sam Nightingale, who is one of our lead build leads here in the UK for printIQ. So probably without further ado, I'll stop sharing my side of things and let's get into the technology. I think, Sam, are you going to pick things up first?
Yeah, absolutely fine. We've
Brilliant.
just had a comment through saying you're muted, Rob. Can everyone hear us okay? Oh, no. Yeah, got you now. Perfect. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Let me share my side. So there's quite a bit to get through this morning. There's a few points I'm going to go through first before handing over to Chris Moore. So the first item on the list is kinds-based shipping. So we have a quote on screen at the moment, and this is a custom quote containing advanced kinds. Now, on the shipping section, if we head over to multiple, you'll see the product on the quote here, and this new drop down which says entire product. So if your custom quote contains advanced kinds, you'll see those advanced kinds names in the drop down box here, and we can turn two of these on and confirm the quantity of each kind to be included on the delivery. Once those quantities are entered, the weight calculations are carried out as normal, and then we return the delivery types as normal. Then we add those delivery to the quote, and we're left with the remaining quantity of each of these kinds. We can then return to the box, bring in the third advanced kind here, and bring in the remaining amounts on all three advanced kinds, and set those to potentially a different delivery type, different delivery address with different contacts, and add the delivery. From there, we're into the summary as normal. The second part of the shipping is this new option you can see for distribution. So I'm going to just switch this quote over to a separate mock-up I've got of this one. And distribution, again, new functionality in 48.2. And the idea here is we've got a real mixed bag of products in our quote. So we've got a product containing kinds, manual kinds, and then advanced kinds, a standard straightforward brochure, a store item, and a kit. So distribution works with all of these types of products in the basket. We can see a summary of the kinds, the advanced kinds, and the names pulling through with the quantities. But the main focus of this distribution function is to start out with a CSV. So you can see on the top right here, we're going to start by managing distribution by exporting, importing. So we come across here and we pull an export out into Excel. And what we're looking to do here really is to capture a high number of delivery addresses across the products that are currently contained in the quote. So quite similar to multi-freight, only this CSV is more a focus on the delivery addresses. It would be a delivery address per row. On here, and we get the contact's first name, the surnames, emails, the address information. And then as we come further along, you've then got a column per product in the basket. Now, some of those products, for example, the kinds, the basic kinds, have got a column per kind, the same for advanced kinds. And we can see the name of those kinds pulling in here as well. There's a completed copy of the CSV I prepped earlier. So I'm just going to bring that up on screen now. So we're using this to create 12 deliveries the quote. Zoom in a little bit here. So we've got some addresses listed out here. Now, to the right hand side here, we've got delivery type. Now you'll see these 4 or 5 key columns here. Now note, these are not essential. They are not marked with an asterisk. You don't have to fill these out. We could let this import through without any information in them, and IQ would go away and try and figure out which delivery type to use. So I've told the system here we want one of these deliveries to be a priority and the rest to be standard delivery types. To the right hand side, I've then started filling out the quantity breakdown of each of these products. So for this address here, I want 10 of this kind, and then I want 10 to the other address, and so on. And that's intentionally at the moment not completed. So the quantity options I've specified in here currently are not the full quantity of kinds, but I can still use this to import. So if we come back to the quote screen here, and run the import through, we'll then be taken back to the initial screen. And we kind of summarize at this level that, okay, we've allocated a certain amount here, but there is still a proportion to be made up. The idea is we don't need necessarily to have this fully completed, because for one, it might not be known at point of quote. This might be something that needs to be confirmed at point of production, and we'll get into that shortly. What we do have on the top here is a shipping estimate. So this is currently saying to be confirmed. When we click on the get shipping estimate here, we run through all the delivery information we've got thus far. We use the delivery types in this case that we specified on the CSV, and basically calculate the cost of the deliveries on the usual freight calculation methods. And that's obviously returned up at the top here. I do have a second CSV just to bring up on screen as well. So very similar to the first, only this time we have confirmed the delivery types, but we've also made use of the delivery cost column to be able to ignore the default IQ freight behavior and specify this delivery at the top is going to be £15, this delivery is going to be £7.50. And we've also firmed up on all the quantity options across all the delivery addresses on this one. So returning back to the quote, we'll pull that second CSV in now. And then we've got ticks across all the options we've got here. Okay, taking this one a bit further through it to job level then. I'll just load up the job here. That's built off the back of the quote we've just been looking at. And we'll head straight into the dispatch section of this job. So when you use distribution at quote stage, the interface here has changed slightly. We have a separate area for the deliveries we quoted for, which are currently marked as awaiting distribution. So that is a new status in dispatch, where distribution's in use, the job initially will go through to awaiting distribution. The idea here is that we kind of hold the deliveries back and then specify that when you have a selection of these deliveries ready to go out, we can either select the icon on the top right of the delivery and allow that to move through from awaiting distribution to distribution ready. So we'll do that with the first one, and you'll see this then drops to 11 and we get a distribution ready, and that delivery moves forward into pending as the previous behavior. There, you'll notice on the top of this page that we've got the ability to then filter these deliveries. So if we hover over the the expected dates here, you can see some of these have been given an expected date of the 31st. So we can come in here, specify the 31st as a delivery. Just try a slightly different filter there. So we're just going to filter down in this case to contact 2. And we're then able to distribute all of the filtered addresses below that. And they will then move forward into pending. Okay, we're going to change subject slightly now. So that is the updates with regards to the freight. I'm going to go back into custom quoting and just to highlight new functionality around dies and die library within the system. So within your custom quote template, there is a new ability to prioritize die within the template. And this is as an example of how that actually works in practice. So we bring forward a die front and center within the custom quote page. Once we select a die and confirm the number, cross number around in this case, you can see we get a visual bringing a lot more information on that die front and center. So we get the layout image if there is one against the die you've selected, some information around the item size, the imposition block number up, and the actual laydown on the die itself. There's also a confirm selection button. Now this can be done automatically, or in this case we can enable a button to show. Once we confirm selection, there are criteria against that die. We can then start to pre-fill into the quotation. So at the moment we know the finished size of this die. You can see at the minute finished size is set to select, but once we confirm selection there, we'll start to pre-populate information from that die and fill out the custom quote with the information. And again, that can be done either automatically without the confirm selection. It will update the relevant information as soon as these reference and group values have been selected, or obviously we can have that confirm selection active as well. That is my part done for now. So Chris, can I hand over to you?
Yeah, no worries at all.
Thank you.
Just before you start, Chris, if anyone's got any questions, obviously pop them into the chat, and obviously we'll try and pick up on those either as we go along or at the end.
Okay, so a few things from my side. What we're gonna do, the first thing I'm showing is something that we came out in release 48.1. So a lot of you would have just been looking at getting upgraded from 48 to 48.2 to be in preparation to being able to get the 49 release once it's become available to live customers. We're just rolling out the 49 into some build sites at the moment, but it'll be available for live customers very shortly. So, but in the meantime, a lot of the stuff that we've just gone over so far with Sam and the couple more that I've got here, they are all available inside that 48.1 and 48.2 release. So one of the changes that we had in 48.1 goes off the back of what we had done for 48. Now in 48 we had created this new orders page, and that was to give us a high level view from production. So that was a combination of being able to see all manufactured jobs and pick and pack style jobs, so IQ store products being able to be seen together inside the screen. We then went off the back of that because we just wanted to show a little bit more information, and we wanted to be able to make it a little bit more interactive in some ways for certain people who need to see it. So what we've done on here is, I'll just come in and I'm looking at one of these. So I've got a job on here that's got 3 jobs. They're all manufacturing jobs, and I've got no sales orders on it. Where this one above has got 8 jobs, but there's 4 production jobs and 4 manufacturing items inside the 1 sales order. So when I come into 713, 715, and I just expand it, what we've done on 48.1 is we've added these 3 tiles into the mix just to give us a bit more visibility over the whole job from within the screen stool. So just so we don't have to go diving deeper into the system to get some key information. So number 1 is our finished production. So I've got 3 jobs. One of these jobs is completed, and the other 2 are still running through production. So when we click onto it, we expand this detail out. We can see in here we've got a pie chart. Any of this information we can click into, and it takes us away and just reduces some of that detail. When we come and look at dispatch on here, again, I can tell that I've got 1 job dispatched. We've got 2 jobs pending. If I had, like what Sam was just doing, 12 deliveries or 100 deliveries on here, and the deliveries were staggered throughout each day, then we would actually be able to see a bar graph here with that information showing on it. So we could click into any of that info and get some detail. When we click onto dispatch and I click onto the blue, then that pushes me off to the dispatch board, and it's reduced down to just the items for that 1 job. So we only see those 2 deliveries being available on here. And finally, on the invoicing, it's good to be able to see what the total invoice is, albeit it's in dollars at the moment, just on the site I'm on. But same thing, when we click into it, we can see what's been accepted and fully invoiced and sent off versus what's still waiting to be invoiced out. Once the invoices are created, you get the same options. We get the graphs to come in, so we can click into it, and it's isolated down to just that invoice that we've clicked into at that point. So it's just having a little bit of extra functionality to just make it a bit more interactive at this level. Second thing I wanted to do on here is I'm clicking over to a different site, but just switching hats from that mode. The second thing that we did for and came out in 48.2 was we added in a product catalog flow. So the idea and concepts around that is to cater for some of those label customers that we have globally, or anyone that's got set items that you produce and manufacture, for specific customers. If any of you had a bank, for example, and as we all walk into the bank and you've got the stand with all the brochures and everything all pre-sitting in there, chances are that printer's got those all as set products ready to go and order next time. They're not brand new items, so we want to hit those pre-existing orders and just make things a little bit more easily to manage and easy to quote again. So under create orders, we've got a product catalog portal. Now on here by default, we're showing all these specific item types. So we've got, store products, product ranges, SPCs, so single product creations, CSV imports, and both versions of our kits coming into play. You can see in here the sort of detail that we've got and what we're showing. So when we click into it, we get some information about the product. We can tell what it's called. We've got a thumbnail of it in it. We've got our SKUs, and we're able to define what kits these items are actually attached to, because your label may be attached to multiple kits. After that, we've got a few extra text fields coming into play just for additional notes. Right, we know that, for example, some of the jobs may have specific PMS colors for those that are working in PMS space. Then we want to actually pull that detail into the quote once we're doing it, and we don't want to have to type it every single time. So we're just pulling it through so we know that data. you've got the ability to print out a specification sheet. So again, that could travel with the job if need be. To go forth from this, what I want to do is to get it to a fact that we can actually order it, I've got to actually put in a customer, because it may be specific to that customer's products that we want to be able to limit it down. And once I've got Macy, I'm just going to look for specific items. So once we've narrowed down the fields for what we're actually after, we get the tick box pop up on the side. So from here, I can select any products that I'm after, and I can come in and I can create a quote. So in this case, for these items, I can come in and do just into a simplified product or a quick quote. Others I can go straight into custom. And third options is that we can do either, depending on the style and the makeup of how we've actually produced these products. You've also got the ability to add those to an existing quote if need be. So I'll just go through and do this, and we'll do it into a new quote. And so nice and easy, it's pulled through the information that I'm after. Just going to give it some quantities. And as it prices, it'll create a quote just like usual. Okay, so we've got product 1 and we're on quote 1706. So I'm just copying that quote number because I just want to come back to that from the orders board again. So as we know, if we took this into the checkout screen, we've got the 2 items. Everything looks just like all of you will be used to seeing. So no changes in this space. It's just about being able to capture those products that are all predefined, bring them in and make them easy to reorder. If I come back into play, go back into it. In this case, I'm going to come in and do Macy again. And same products. Now on here, I've got a couple more products in play. So these bottom 3, they're defined and set up to be able to work with custom quoting. So once we connect them, select them, we've got the ability to go straight into new. But in this case, I want to come in and add them to that existing quote that we just created. And if we needed to select a range and a kit that it was from, because they're from multiples, then we can. Now from here, it takes these products and takes them straight into a custom quote with predefined options at the top to use the advanced quantities. So at this point, I'll just populate quantities. If we needed to add another item into the mix for something that we didn't have originally, as long as it's connected to that same range, then we could pull that through. Or if we didn't need to, but we did have a brand new product, we hadn't actually created a predefined product for it, so it was new from scratch, then we could just add in another new kind at this point to bring that into play just for quoting purposes. And then we'll be able to drive and save that down later on. So from here, we go down past the die, knowing that the products were all predefined and preset. We knew what dies were being used for it. So all that information that Sam was just talking about has automatically pulled through. Any information that I was just discussing around the PMS notes has just pulled in, so we can click into it and see what the PMSs were that we're using for these items. And that can help us define how we want to set that up if we needed to break it away. And in this case, I'm just going to do a run calculator. Again, it's preset to go for 3 across. So once we do a run calc, we've got multiple runs that the system's making. So everything's been added. And from here and those numbers, then we know that on run 1, with it being 3 across, we can actually fit both product 1 and product 2 onto it. But product 3 comes into a run on its own for 3000. So at that level, hit save, update quote. Once that's priced, go into our checkout. Because we were connected to our original product, we've now got the 2 types of products coming together as a single quote. So it just saves us having to make multiple quotes for those items. Now, we all know that we could have done it manually and still had simplified and custom quotes coming together, but doing it this way from the product catalog screen, then it just helps reduce down the manual tasks that we've got at that space. So those are 2 things that we've said are inside most of your systems now if you've been upgraded to at least 48.2. Coming away from there, I want to go into the 49 tasks. And again, there's a large number of things on here that we've got to try to get through. So I'll go through as quickly as we can, but we're not covering everything that's inside the release notes. The release notes will be sent out with the recordings or whenever we get upgraded as well. So those copies will go out at the same time also. So we'll crack into 49. So one of the big changes that we did in 49 is we've implemented a inventory planning screen. So it's giving us the ability to look at jobs or look at the materials that are on a job and be able to select multiple jobs together and create an inventory purchase order. So it's going to help us bring those jobs that are all using the same stocks, and we've got 20 or 30 of them in the system. So instead of having to do either a single purchase order that's not connected to any work orders at all, then this way here it brings it all together to make it a bit more seamless. So I'm just going to take a quote that we've prepared and I'm just going to accept it. So this has got 3 products on it. Well, that goes through. One of the other things that came along with creating this board was we wanted to introduce an inventory status. So then we were able to actually see alerts and where we're at with the stocks, whether it's actually in hand or whether we're waiting for it and it's out on stock, out of order. So we'll just pull these in and I'll just get that to come through. So my user lands directly onto the production orders board. So again, from here on the right hand side, we've got this inventory status icon coming in. So right now, all these items are actually out of stock. So we get a symbol for that. We've added in, at the end of this, we've added in inventory statuses. So we've got a number of different options in play here on where we will get to throughout the life of the journey of these stocks where we're going to order them. Now, this inventory status, it exists on majority of boards. We're able to see it here on the orders board. We're able to see it on the all jobs board. You're able to see it on the pre-production board, the inventory planning board, and we'll see that as we go. So again, it's just wanting to get this more front and center so we don't have to go digging into the system to try to find that information. Okay, so we just created job 81. So what we'll do is under production, we've got inventory planning. Now the inventory planning board is a combination of everything. So as we said, it's material driven. So we're going to see multiple lines for any jobs that we have in the system, depending on what materials are actually required. So for our job 81, you can see we've got quite a lot of stock in here, or quite a lot of stock required at that point. Same rules, we've got our out of stock showing for us. Now it's all out of stock. We can see on here we've got no quantity on hand, so we're able to see the quantity on hand from this area. We're able to see what's required, and we can tell that we've got nothing on purchase orders. And if we had something on a purchase order, then we would be able to see the purchase order number in this column here. So we'll go down the lines of just accepting these jobs. Sorry, before I do actually, I'll just come back to that. Next thing that you can do on here, which may work a little bit better, is being able to filter this down to a particular supplier. So if we knew that we had a lot of items for the, in this case I've just picked the default supplier, we've got a lot of products sitting in here, then we're able to select all of those or whichever ones we see fit to come into play to actually order them. So in this case, I'll come back, we'll select all of job 81. We've got multiple things from multiple suppliers, and in this case when we do this like this, we've locked it down. So this is just to show that we've still got the safeguards in play to make sure that you can't create a purchase order that is for two different suppliers in one hit. I'm going to take that away, go back to our defaults, bring any of those in, and go to create that purchase order. What the system's done is it's pre-populated the supplier, the warehouse is based on the defaults, and it's pulling in separate lines for each items that they need. Now in this case, this here is set to just have one particular job that's needing this stock. Same with here. But when we get further down, we've got a couple of jobs on this line here. So we've made the ability to group these together. We can see that we've got 2,396 on one job and 1,599 on another. And so we're totaling up exactly what's calculated based on the jobs that are attached. In this case, I've got a little warning sign here. So based on the fact that my units are set in packets, then I need to be able to make sure that this is set to a full pack, or I need to be able to change this to 1 and override it. So in this case, if I just want to update that to 8 packs, then we increase up to 4,000. And same with any of the others that are needed at that point. So the key on here is the fact that we've created the functionality to link those jobs together. We're only creating a single line on the purchase order for that job, for that stock. For some of you, if you use the stock override at quoting stage and you've changed the price, your buy price, then when you come into here, we're holding that information. So if you've changed it on one section, for example, then you may end up with 2 sections showing on here, one for the original stock at the normal price and one for those that you've actually allocated with the new price, just to keep them separate because they're specific to that job at that level. From there, we go and create the purchase order. Now, all those jobs disappeared off my board because they're now actually on an order. So up here, I want to click on Show Already Ordered, and we can now see our purchase order in play. We've got what's on an order, so quantity on purchase order. We know that that's 8 packets that's required. We can click into the purchase order at any time. And in this case, while I'm here, let's just take that through and we'll mark these to confirm them. Again, now once those have been confirmed in, we don't have an active purchase order anymore. That purchase order is locked out and closed. So therefore I've got nothing sitting here on a purchase order. It's all converted into actual available stock. My purchase order, my status here has updated to partially in stock because I've got some of those items for this job have actually is what we've just ordered. So slightly different icon for this one than the out of stock symbol. Where we'll take this now is we'll take this into the job itself. So from the job details screen, we've made a few more changes to coincide with everything that we just built. In here, number 1, as we go, we've made a change to this tab here in the middle. That's normally just been always called outsource, and it only ever showed you your outsource purchase orders that you created. Now with clicking onto it, you're able to actually see both lots of purchase orders. So you can see your outsource ones if you had created, and we can see on here the purchase order that we've just been using. So any records of that information is going to come into play here. You've got the ability from here to add new, and we can do either again from here. So we're not needing to try to force people to use the planning board. If you want to go down the lines of still using the system how you were currently using it, where you could go to stock details and create a purchase order from there if you need be, then you can still do that. If you do it the other way, where you're going to inventory items and you're doing it from that board, you can still do that. Or if you're going from the normal purchase order screen as you do, then you can still do it that way. Doing it from the planning board ideally is making it a bit easier, so then you've got full detail and transparency of everything that's coming through, and you're not having to go and search for it. It's all getting pre-populated for you. So hopefully those areas are going to come into play and make it a little bit seamless in that space. To coincide with that is the picking of those items compared to when the orders have come into play. So change that we've made to this board is, again, we still have stock pick screen. So those that are used to going in there, then you can still go there to make your picks. You can still do auto picking. There's no changes in that space. So then once we'd received this in, it could have auto picked these quantities straight off. But with adding a bit more functionality in for those that don't do that, then we're trying to keep them sort of contained inside job details. And at this point, we're coming in and we've added in these items. So when we click on items, we're able to see what materials are attached to that job. We're not trying to replicate everything that the stock details screens do. So we're just limiting it to a number of things at this point. We can see our status. We can see in any of these what we've ordered or what we've got, how much of it we've got on hand. So we know that we've got our stock. Any of these with the SKUs, when we click into that, that takes us straight into the inventory admin screen, limited down to that product. So we can click on there and have a look if we needed to make any modifications. Otherwise, we can come in here and we can click in and we can pick what we require. So once that's picked, you've got the ability to return it if need be. You've got the green bar coming across. So visually, we're wanting to take that same information and be able to show that everywhere. So when we come back to the planning screen, we want to be able to show, and we're making more changes to this already. We want this hover that we're showing here. We want this to mirror what we were just seeing on job details. So if we have picked the stock, then we want one of the lines on here to be full green, just the same functionality and wording, just to keep it consistent. So that's a pilot change inside that space to be able to cater for all of that. Just get rid of some of these before I click into the next part. Going off the back of that, and a lot of this can come into play for promo product sort of stuff for those that are getting into that area. What we've got is the workflow designed is to try to bring as much of that together as possible. So I've just got another item that we want to work on. So this is a predefined quote that we've made. It's for a promotional product, garments, and we're doing some embellishments on it. So when we look into here, we've got two tops and we're doing a thermal print. So we're going to create a manufactured job and a sales order with these two items on it. I won't worry about uploading artwork for that. We'll know how that works. Once we get through, we're going into the orders board. Same rules apply. We can see our quantity on hands. We can see what's status. We're already at partially in stock. So I've got something in play here already. So when we start to look at it, we can look at what our details are and it'll show us that one item we've got enough of. So our top product, the black polo small, we require 6, we've got 15 in hand. The mediums, we've got nothing in stock at all. So I want to go into the job of here and start to manufacture this. So we've got a total, we know it's 10. When we come into play, we look at our inventory items, we're able to see those pick and pack products. So that's our garments. We're able to pick this. We can't do any picks on the other one because we don't have enough stocks. So we could have been producing the 6 garments already. From here, I want to go into the purchase, the supplier sales orders. And we can see that we've created that pick. But we don't have enough to do anything extra, so we're out of stock on here. So I either need to go back to the inventory board, place an order for these items, but when I want to do that, I also want to be able to deliver off and get the 6 out the door because the client's happy to take that as a split order. So in this case, I want to come in and I want to create a split for the remaining. And we're going to keep the orders as what we've done. We've got the 2, we've got 6 for the first one, 4 coming in for the second. So when we confirm this, what we're doing at this point is we're making a child sales order for the remaining 4, and we're doing a child production job as well. And we'll come back to the production job once she's made the order. We can see on here we've got a child order, so it's added a -001 onto the end of it. We can link into the original. Down here we've got the 4, so the 6 has dropped off. If we wanted to get into here, then open that up. We can see the order for the 6, so we could go ahead and dispatch this and invoice this out. Where my manufactured job originally, we started at 10. It had both products on it. When I reload the screen now, we're going to see that the quantity has changed to 6. My items, the ones that are out of stock, have dropped off, and we've only got this 4, so we can close this job off. So it's done and dusted, whilst we've got a child job in play waiting for the remaining of it to turn up. So we should see 02, job 02 has come in. And that is for the additional 4 for that product. So it just shows that we're handling that split quite nicely from both sides, from the sales order and the production job, just so we can close off that first job and get that out the door. Now, if you don't need to invoice it separately and you want to hold on to them and invoice them all both together, then no problems at all with that. You can go down the lines of just doing a consolidated invoice for those later on. But at least you're able to deliver those out the door. One more change on here is we've made some changes to the outsource purchase order modal. And we've made the ability to handle multiple deliveries for those items if your job has got multiple deliveries. So again, we can see on this example, we've got 2 deliveries in here coming into play. So however many we would have, we can come in, we can create an outsource purchase order. And we can see on here, generally we would start with it either being set to specific, so it'll just have a single, or we're going to turn around and pull from the job, so it'll pull any information that's from that job. So if you had multiple versions in play, then you would see information on here that would tell you which address belonged to which version, and any notes that you would have in here as well. With having this information available on the OPO, then it also makes that information available inside the portal. So for any of you that get your suppliers to click into the portal to update any information once they're actually done with it, you've got the ability on here now to have those deliveries coming into play. Couple more small changes on these ones is we've added in a little tick box here. So if we click into that, it predefines the date and time to right now's timestamp. Obviously we can't do anything with the couriers and the con notes because that there's got to be driven from the supplier. So it's just about saving those extra clicks to having to click into here, select it, then click onto here and come and select it. It's just to make that a little bit easier. So, and again, if you've moved away and come back to it later on, then you've got the ability to just clear those fields out and then come from scratch again from there. So that's the changes in the OPO side of things. And there's one more small one, just quickly going back a few steps and going into quotes. I'll come back out. One of the things that we were hearing a bit from clients globally was when we're dealing with multiple products on a quote and you're loading one, every time we're doing that, you're updating your freight records. So it's doing a freight calculation at the same time. So we wanted to be able to add some functionality to be able to pause that freight function from actually happening. So in 49, you've got the ability via a little bit of setup, not much, just turning on a couple of settings. So you need to reach out to the support team to activate this functionality for you. But it gives you the ability to have your product set that you could keep constantly adding product after product after product onto your quote. And we do nothing with the freight until you come down and you get to the point of clicking this button to price your shipping. So once you go into here, then your shipping becomes active, and then and only then do we start to actually calculate your freight. So it's just to help streamline some of that functionality into play at that point. Lastly, what else we've got is from an integration point of view, there's a few things that we've changed, and integration is not normally my space, but areas that we've made adjustments on here is we've made an API connection into a third-party capacity planning system for those that didn't want to be using ours and wanted to be hooking into a specific option. Then this was giving us that ability to do so. We've added in promotional the product changes into the APIs, so then they're all available to be called at the get price area. Coming through some more of these, this was additional changes from that space for GUI engine updates, page flex integrations, adding support for Node.js and Switch. So all of this information is available in a bit more detail on these notes, on these release notes, and then you know any questions from there, you're best to reach out to support and get the right person to come through those. But that'll just give us a bit more detail that's coming through. I'll just quickly pass it back to Sam to just go through a little bit more. I know we're getting on in for the hour, so we'll try and keep it as fast as we can. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Chris. We've got questions coming in, so we will try and answer a few of these at the end. If not, we will reply. And I think some of them we may be best to organise a meeting, maybe an online meeting. I see Alan from Housestand has raised a few questions. Alan, I would suggest we maybe have a meeting together, maybe get Chris and Sam on a call. We could start taking you through some of these things. And obviously we've got some other questions from Keith and Stuart as well. I see Chris has just put a question on as well. So we'll try and get these answered as we can.
Yeah, I'll be quick with these few bits in that case then. This mainly centers around production board. So you'll see in the column headers here, we've enabled more columns to have this checkbox selection. So if we came into printing, for example, we could then use the stock filter to preview down by a particular type of stock, in this case 100-gram matte. And equally on color, we can then come through and say, just show me the single-sided color options there, CMYK back blank. You'll also see on the right-hand side here, the total operation time, total production time of the jobs. We've converted these from decimal to hours, minutes. So just a bit more user-friendly in that respect. If we take these filters off and allow the production board to populate across multiple pages, the checkbox selection, and this goes for a number of other boards as well, which we'll take a look at briefly in a second. The checkboxes now work across multiple pages. So we have 4 jobs specified on the first page. We can move forward to page 2 and continue the selection, which now increases to 5, 6, 7, so on. Probably a board to note on there is that also applies to the awaiting invoice board. So we can select across multiple pages on the awaiting invoice board as well. On the bottom right hand side of the boards, there is a new drop-down option to allow more rows per page. So we've got the ability here to say, right, we want to go across to show 100 records. And then you'll see the multi-page has now disappeared, and we've got a full list of 89 selected. They are the last of the quick updates, Rob. If we want to head back to the Q&As.
Yeah, of course we can. So thank you, Chris and Sam. We've had a few questions come in, as I've said. Guys, keep your questions coming in if you can. We've got a few minutes to try and run a few of them. I'll put my teeth back in. And we'll go through them now. So we've got a message from Keith. What is advanced kinds? So obviously, that's a general printIQ question.
Yeah, so advanced kinds, Keith, is just another way of having multiple quantities in the mix for your quote. So, as you know, when we're doing a quote, we commonly stop with the 4 quantities going across the screen, whether that's in custom quoting or simplified. But once we go into advanced kinds mode, then we've got the ability to add quite a bit more. So you could have lots of different versions of a booklet as such being produced. So if you wanted to go down those lines, and if it was in different languages, for example, then you may want to be able to use the advanced kinds mode to cater for some of that setup and quoting. It's probably best that one of the guys jumps on a call and runs through that in a bit lower level detail for you, so you've got that information coming into play and it makes a bit more sense. But that's a very high level view of it.
Brilliant, thank you, Chris. Yeah, Keith, if you want to obviously jump on a call with the guys, we can always set that up, so no problem at all. Message from Stuart, question. And I think you guys have been with Stuart this week. So the die feature looks great. Has the method for adding a die been improved? The current method needs high-level user and is very time-consuming.
There's been no change to the back end, unfortunately, Stuart. The changes have just been at the front end for now.
Brilliant. Okay, let's get a couple more in if we can. So Alan, could you explain how you make a product in IQ? Sam, I think you put some notes onto the message board as well. Product catalog, we have thousands of static products at house, Dan.
Yeah, I think Sam's links that he's added will help explain that. Again, it's probably a bit more detailed to go through to cater for it in this environment, and will probably be best to do that as an offline task.
Yeah.
But product range you may be familiar with as dynamic catalogs. That has now become product range.
Product range. Okay, thank you, Sam.
Sum it up, once you've saved those products automatically in the back, they should be able to be available at the front end.
Okay, I think it's probably worth setting up a call with Alan and the guys at Houston to go through a few of the questions. I think we'll get that planned in, Alan, if that's okay with you. And then Chris Perry, he has said the inventory board, can you see outsource requirements for all jobs?
No, the inventory planning is, as far as I'm aware, Chris, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is solely inventory focused.
Correct. It's inventory purchase order focused rather than outsourced purchase order focus. Outsourced purchase orders, you'd need to either look at it from the within job details or go to the outsourced purchase order screen.
Fantastic, thank you, chaps. And I think that obviously brings us to an end. We're at the end of our hour. Guys, ladies, gentlemen, thank you obviously for joining. If you do have any further questions, you want to go through anything in more depth with the guys, old Russell has just raised his hand. Did you have a question, Russell? We might just be able to creep that in if you do. He's trying to get his question in. There we go. Russell, you're on mute if you can hear us. Russell, are you there? Can we fit you in just quickly? No, doesn't look like we can. Russell, if you can drop me a message, or I'll drop you a message, and anybody else that's still here, Rob at PrintIQ.com, and we can pick up on everything. So at this point, I think we're all done. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sam. Great coverage of V49 and some of the V48 bits. So thank you, everyone, for joining.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.